The world is constantly changing, and numerous events shape our global landscape every day. Let us delve into some significant occurrences. Are you aware that the profile of immigration into the United States is undergoing a rapid transformation? It's no longer solely about the physical act of crossing borders. The narrative has shifted. It's now centered on understanding where people are migrating from and the fundamental reasons compelling them to undertake such journeys. While Mexico traditionally leads the statistics in terms of immigrant numbers, a fascinating trend is emerging. Nations like El Salvador, India, and Guatemala are rapidly increasing their share of immigrants heading to the U.S. Have you ever paused to consider the motivations behind these massive movements of people? Are individuals simply seeking enhanced life prospects, chasing the proverbial American dream? Or is there a deeper, perhaps more urgent element at play? Are they escaping circumstances far more challenging, even perilous, back in their homelands? The true complexities might astonish you. We will explore the underlying factors driving this significant demographic shift. Stick with us as we uncover the 15 primary countries contributing the largest numbers of undocumented immigrants to the United States currently. Be prepared. The list might hold some genuine surprises about who is arriving and why. We will analyze the diverse factors pushing people from their homes and pulling them towards America, painting a clearer picture of contemporary migration patterns. Remember, we will provide concluding thoughts at the end of this analysis. Before we continue exploring this intricate topic, please consider supporting our channel. If you find this content insightful, give us a thumbs up by liking the video. Subscribing ensures you won't miss future updates on crucial global events and analyses. Your support is incredibly vital for the growth and reach of our channel. Also, we would love to hear from you. Drop a comment below letting us know where you are watching from. Understanding our audience's geographical spread is always fascinating. Your engagement helps us tailor content and foster a vibrant community. Let's begin our detailed look, starting at number 15 on our list. Nigeria. Nigeria stands as a dynamic and populous nation situated on the western coast of Africa. It is renowned for its incredibly rich cultural tapestry and its remarkably diverse population. In fact, Nigeria holds the title of the most populous country on the African continent, with over 200 million individuals calling it home. This vast population contributes to a vibrant society, pulsating with energy and potential. However, beneath the surface of this cultural richness and demographic strength, Nigeria contends with substantial hurdles. Despite possessing abundant natural resources, most notably significant oil reserves which theoretically should fuel prosperity, the nation grapples with persistent challenges. Issues such as political instability, widespread corruption that undermines public trust and economic progress, and stark economic disparity between different segments of the population create an environment where many struggle to thrive. These deeply ingrained problems act as powerful push factors, compelling numerous Nigerians to look beyond their borders in search of better opportunities and a more secure future. Consequently, many embark on journeys abroad, including significant migration towards the United States, driven by the aspiration for improved living conditions, access to better educational opportunities for themselves and their children, and the prospect of stable, reliable employment that might be scarce back home. In recent years, there has been a noticeable increase in the number of Nigerian immigrants making their way to the U.S. These individuals are often motivated by a powerful desire to escape the socio-economic and political difficulties they face in Nigeria and to build a more promising life elsewhere. The United States, with its perceived opportunities, has become a significant destination for these aspirations. American society, in turn, has acknowledged the valuable contributions made by Nigerian immigrants. They frequently arrive possessing valuable skills, diverse perspectives, and a rich cultural heritage that enhances the multicultural fabric of American communities. Their entrepreneurial spirit and strong work ethic often lead them to establish successful businesses and contribute positively to various sectors of the economy. However, the path for these immigrants is not always straightforward. The journey itself can be fraught with difficulties, and upon arrival, many encounter significant hurdles. Navigating the complex U.S. immigration system, dealing with stringent policies, and overcoming the challenges of integrating into a completely new cultural environment can be daunting. Language barriers, cultural misunderstandings, and potential discrimination can add further layers of difficulty as they strive to establish themselves and build new lives in America. The process requires immense resilience and determination. Next, let's turn our attention to number 14, Peru. Peru, beautifully nestled in the heart of South America, captivates with its stunning geographical diversity. The country is celebrated globally for its absolutely breathtaking landscapes, which range dramatically from the towering, majestic peaks of the Andes Mountains, a spine running through the nation, to the dense, biodiverse expanse of the Amazon rainforest that covers a significant portion of its eastern territory. Peru is a land steeped in history, bearing the legacy of ancient civilizations that flourished long before European arrival. The Incas, perhaps the most famous among them, left behind indelible marks on the landscape and culture, including iconic archaeological sites like the world-renowned Machu Picchu, a testament to their engineering prowess and sophisticated society. This rich historical and cultural heritage attracts visitors from across the globe and forms a core part of Peruvian identity. Despite this incredible natural beauty and profound cultural wealth, contemporary Peru faces its own set of significant struggles. The nation contends with persistent economic inequality, where wealth and opportunity are unevenly distributed, leaving many behind. Furthermore, Peru has experienced periods of political unrest and instability, which can disrupt daily life and hinder long-term progress. These challenging socioeconomic and political factors collectively contribute to the outward migration of Peruvians. Many citizens, facing limited prospects or instability at home, look towards other countries, particularly the United States, in search of a more stable existence and a more prosperous life for themselves and their families. The promise of economic opportunities, better wages, and the chance to provide a secure future for their children acts as a powerful pull factor drawing them towards the U.S. Consequently, the United States has observed a consistent influx of Peruvian immigrants over the years. These individuals are often drawn by the allure of the American dream, hoping to find work, improve their economic standing, and build a better future. Many Peruvian immigrants successfully integrate into communities across the United States, enriching American society with their unique traditions, vibrant culture, and particularly their highly regarded culinary delights, which have gained international acclaim. They contribute to the workforce and add to the diversity of American life. However, like many other immigrant groups arriving in the U.S., Peruvians often encounter substantial challenges upon their arrival and during the settlement process. Navigating the complexities of the U.S. legal system, particularly concerning immigration status, can be a significant hurdle. Furthermore, adapting to a new culture, overcoming language barriers, and finding stable employment while potentially facing societal prejudices are common difficulties they must strive to overcome as they work towards building new lives in America. Moving on to number 13, Colombia. Colombia, strategically positioned at the northernmost tip of South America, is a country renowned worldwide for several key attributes. It is globally famous for its high-quality coffee, a major export and symbol of Colombian agriculture. Beyond coffee, the nation boasts a vibrant and diverse culture, expressed through music, dance, art, and festivals, reflecting a blend of indigenous, European, and African influences. Colombia is also recognized for its stunning biodiversity, housing a vast array of plant and animal species within its varied ecosystems, from Caribbean coastlines to Andean highlands and Amazonian jungles. In recent history, Colombia has made significant strides towards overcoming a long and difficult past, marked by internal conflict and violence, particularly related to guerrilla movements and drug cartels. Peace initiatives and government efforts have led to improvements in security in many areas. However, substantial challenges persist. Economic disparities remain a significant issue, with considerable gaps between the rich and the poor, and between urban and rural areas. Security concerns, though lessened in some regions, continue to affect parts of the country, driving fear and instability. These lingering economic difficulties and security issues continue to push Colombians to seek opportunities and safety elsewhere. The United States, often perceived as a land of greater stability and economic promise, remains a primary destination. Many Colombian immigrants arrive in the U.S. harboring hopes of escaping the lingering threats of violence and instability, and finding reliable economic pathways to improve their lives and support their families back home. The U.S. government has acknowledged the complex situation within Colombia, recognizing the push factors driving migration. At times, this has led to specific measures, such as offering temporary protected status, TPS, to Colombians already in the U.S., who are fleeing dire circumstances like armed conflict or natural disasters, providing them with temporary legal standing and work authorization. Colombian immigrants contribute significantly to the cultural and economic landscape of the United States. They bring with them a rich cultural heritage, a strong work ethic, and often valuable skills. They establish communities, start businesses, and participate actively in American society. However, their journey is often fraught with obstacles. Like many immigrant populations, they face the complexities of navigating the U.S. immigration system, which can be bureaucratic and challenging. Overcoming language barriers and adapting to a new cultural environment while seeking stable employment and potentially facing discrimination are significant hurdles they must overcome as they strive to build new, successful lives in America. At number 12, we find the Dominican Republic. This Caribbean nation shares the island of Hispaniola with Haiti and has a long, deeply rooted history of emigration, particularly directed towards the United States. This migratory flow has been primarily shaped by a combination of compelling economic factors and significant political events throughout the country's history. Looking back, during the mid-20th century, the dictatorial rule of Rafael Trujillo imposed severe restrictions on citizens wishing to leave the country. His regime tightly controlled movement, making emigration difficult for ordinary Dominicans. However, the political landscape shifted dramatically following his assassination in 1961. The period after Trujillo's death was marked by considerable political unrest and economic challenges as the country struggled to transition towards democracy and stability. This instability, coupled with a significant U.S. military intervention in 1965, created an environment where many Dominicans, particularly urban professionals and members of the middle class, felt compelled to seek better opportunities and a more secure future abroad. The United States, with its proximity and perceived economic advantages, became the primary destination. Fast forward to the present day, and the legacy of this migration pattern is evident. A remarkable statistic reveals that approximately 3/4 of all Dominican migrants living outside their home country reside in the United States. This demonstrates the enduring strength of the migratory link between the two nations. Within the U.S., the Dominican diaspora is heavily concentrated in specific areas, most notably New York City. Neighborhoods like Washington Heights and Upper Manhattan are renowned for their large and vibrant Dominican communities, serving as cultural and social hubs. According to recent estimations, around 164,000 Dominicans residing in the U.S. were categorized as unauthorized immigrants. This figure represents about 1% of the total estimated unauthorized immigrant population in the country. Despite these numbers related to unauthorized status, Dominican immigrants exhibit distinct characteristics regarding social integration. For instance, they tend to have higher rates of enrollment in public health insurance programs compared to many other foreign-born groups in the U.S. This higher insurance coverage might explain why, in 2022, only 13% of Dominican immigrants were reported as uninsured, a figure significantly lower than the 18% average for all immigrant groups combined, suggesting better access to healthcare resources for this community compared to others. Let's explore number 11, Vietnam. The story of Vietnamese immigration to the United States is deeply intertwined with the tumultuous events of the 20th century, particularly the Vietnam War. The origins of significant Vietnamese migration to the U.S. can be traced directly back to the aftermath of that conflict. A pivotal moment occurred on April 30, 1975, with the fall of Saigon to North Vietnamese forces. This event marked the end of the war, but also triggered a massive exodus of people fleeing the newly established communist regime. This initial wave consisted largely of individuals who had ties to the former South Vietnamese government or the U.S. military, fearing persecution under the new rule. They sought refuge from political reprisal and the uncertainties of life under communism. Thus, The first significant cohort of Vietnamese arrivals in the U.S. came primarily as refugees, granted entry due to the humanitarian crisis unfolding in Southeast Asia. However, the nature of Vietnamese immigration has evolved considerably since those early post-war years. While the initial influx was driven by refugee flows, contemporary migration patterns are different. Nowadays, a vast majority, approximately 87%, of new Vietnamese individuals who obtain lawful permanent residence, green cards, in the United States achieve this status through family reunification channels. This signifies a shift from primarily refugee-based migration to family-sponsored immigration, where U.S. citizens or existing permanent residents petition for their relatives in Vietnam to join them. This trend reflects the establishment of robust Vietnamese-American communities over the decades, creating strong family networks that facilitate further migration. Interestingly, Vietnamese immigrants exhibit a unique socioeconomic profile compared to other immigrant groups. While statistical data might indicate lower average levels of formal education attainment and potentially lower rates of English proficiency compared to the overall immigrant population, they tend to demonstrate strong economic outcomes. Vietnamese immigrant households often report higher median household incomes than both the overall immigrant population and the native-born U.S. population. This suggests a high degree of economic integration and success, despite potential educational or language barriers. Regarding unauthorized immigration, the numbers for Vietnamese immigrants are relatively low compared to other groups. In 2021, it was estimated that approximately 76,000 Vietnamese individuals were living in the U.S. without legal status. This constitutes only a small fraction of the total unauthorized immigrant population in the country. Health-wise, Vietnamese immigrants generally fare well in terms of insurance coverage. Data from 2022 showed that only about 7% lacked health insurance. This rate is significantly lower than the 18% average for all immigrants in the U.S., indicating relatively better access to health care for the Vietnamese immigrant community. Now let's consider number 10. Cuba. Cuban immigration to the United States presents a unique and complex narrative, shaped distinctly by both economic pressures and deeply ingrained political motivations that span over a century. The relationship between Cuba, an island nation just 90 miles off the coast of Florida, and the United States has been historically fraught and often contentious. This rocky relationship dates back to the early 19th century, marked by periods of intervention and tension. Notably, the U.S. even made attempts to purchase Cuba from Spain during the mid-1800s, highlighting early American interest in the island. Following the Spanish-American War, the Treaty of Paris in 1898 granted the U.S. temporary control over Cuba, further solidifying the connection, albeit a complex one, between the two nations. Over the subsequent decades, deteriorating relations, first with Spain and later, more significantly, with the communist regime established after the Cuban Revolution in 1959, spurred waves of Cuban migration to the U.S. Many Cubans, particularly those opposing the Castro government or seeking economic opportunities unavailable under the state-controlled economy, sought refuge in a new life in the United States. Today, Cubans represent one of the largest Caribbean immigrant groups within the U.S. A significant concentration of the Cuban-American population resides in the Miami metropolitan area in Florida, which serves as a major cultural, political, and economic center for the community. The proximity of Florida to Cuba has historically made it a natural destination for those leaving the island. Recent policy changes have also influenced migration patterns. The CHNV, Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, Venezuelan parole program, for instance, has provided a structured, lawful pathway for entry into the U.S. for individuals from these nations, including Cuba. This program has facilitated the lawful arrival of over 530,000 individuals from these four countries combined, offering an alternative to risky irregular migration routes, such as perilous sea voyages or overland journeys through the U.S.-Mexico border. While Cuban immigrants have historically faced unique challenges related to their political status and the complexities of U.S.-Cuba relations, they have also established a vibrant and influential diaspora in the United States. They continue to play a vital role in the diverse tapestry of U.S. immigration, contributing culturally, economically, and politically, particularly in South Florida. Their journey reflects the profound impact that political upheaval and economic hardship can have on migration flows. At number 9, we examine Ecuador. Ecuadorians have been making their way to the United States for a considerable period, establishing a notable presence within the U.S. immigrant population. The reasons behind this consistent migratory trend are multifaceted, stemming from a combination of persistent challenges within Ecuador. First and foremost, economic hardship serves as a major driver. Ecuador has faced periods of economic instability, high unemployment, and limited job prospects, particularly in certain regions and sectors. Many Ecuadorian families, especially those residing in rural areas like the El Cantón Cañar province, grapple with significant poverty. Compounding this is the issue of land shortages. In many agricultural regions, land holdings have been repeatedly divided over generations, resulting in plots too small to adequately sustain a family through farming alone. This lack of viable agricultural livelihood pushes many to seek alternatives. Furthermore, social issues like discrimination, particularly affecting indigenous communities, can limit opportunities and contribute to the decision to migrate. These communities often face marginalization and lack access to resources and political power. The combination of poverty, limited land, and discrimination creates a powerful set of push factors, leaving many Ecuadorians, especially younger generations, with few perceived opportunities for a decent livelihood within their own country. Consequently, migration, often towards the United States, is viewed as one of the few viable pathways to secure a better future. The journey to the U.S., however, is frequently perilous and expensive. Many Ecuadorians rely on intermediaries, known colloquially as coyotes or document forgers, to facilitate their clandestine passage north. This reliance makes them vulnerable to exploitation, danger, and significant financial debt. Despite these risks, the pull of potential economic improvement in the U.S. remains strong. Once they arrive in the United States, Ecuadorian immigrants often settle in established communities, with New York City hosting a particularly large and significant Ecuadorian population. These communities provide essential social support networks for newcomers. As of 2021, estimates suggested there were over 481,000 Ecuadorians living in the U.S., with a notable concentration in the New York metropolitan area. This diaspora is split between those born in Ecuador and their U.S.-born descendants who identify with their Ecuadorian ancestry. In recent years, the situation in Ecuador has unfortunately become even more challenging, potentially accelerating migration. Since 2021, the country has experienced escalating violence, linked to organized crime and drug trafficking, coupled with ongoing economic pressures. This deterioration in security and economic conditions has reportedly led to over 430,000 Ecuadorians leaving the country, seeking refuge not only from economic hardship, but also from the growing instability and danger in their homeland. Now, let's shift our focus to number 8. Brazil. Brazilian immigration to the United States gained significant momentum starting in the 1980s. This wave was largely propelled by severe economic turmoil within Brazil during that period. The country experienced extreme economic instability, culminating in periods of hyperinflation that ravaged the economy and made daily life incredibly difficult for its citizens. This challenging economic environment led many Brazilians to be termed economic refugees, individuals leaving not due to political persecution in the traditional sense, but primarily to escape dire economic conditions and seek better financial prospects elsewhere. They were drawn to the United States by the promise of significantly higher wages compared to what they could earn in Brazil for similar work, and the perception of a lower relative cost of living, which would allow them to save money or send remittances back home. The economic instability in Brazil was profound. The nation grappled with hyperinflation until the implementation of the Plano Real in 1994, which finally brought inflation under control. However, the economic scars and the lure of better opportunities abroad had already established a strong pattern of migration towards the U.S. This economic motivation remains a primary driver for Brazilian immigration today. Although Brazil's economy has seen periods of growth since the 1990s, persistent issues like income inequality and periodic economic downturns continue to push Brazilians to seek opportunities in the U.S. Many come knowing they can potentially earn up to 4 times the wages they would receive in Brazil for the same type of job. This substantial financial incentive is a powerful motivator for individuals and families looking to improve their quality of life and economic security. Once in the United States, Brazilian immigrants tend to congregate in specific states. Florida, California, Massachusetts, New York, and New Jersey host the largest Brazilian communities. Florida, in particular, stands out as a major stronghold for the Brazilian diaspora, with vibrant communities established in cities like Miami and Orlando. According to recent estimates, these 5 states are home to approximately 63% of all Brazilians living in the U.S. These communities play a crucial role in providing a sense of familiarity, cultural connection, and social support for newcomers navigating the challenges of adapting to life in a new country. The presence of established Brazilian businesses, cultural centers, and social networks in these areas helps ease the transition and fosters a strong sense of community among Brazilian immigrants. At number 7 on our list is the Philippines. The Philippines has a particularly long and significant history of migration to the United States, a connection deeply rooted in historical events dating back to the late 19th century. This enduring migratory relationship was initially established following the Spanish-American War, which resulted in the United States colonizing the Philippines. This period of American rule fostered strong political, military, and educational ties between the two nations, laying the groundwork for future migration flows. Early waves of Filipino migration were often driven by labor demands in the U.S. For instance, the demand for agricultural workers on Hawaiian sugar plantations, and later on farmlands in California, attracted thousands of Filipino immigrants, known historically as cicadas. These workers often filled labor shortages, sometimes replacing Japanese workers who were leaving plantation work. This history established pathways and networks that facilitated continued migration over the following decades. Fast forward to the present day, and Filipinos constitute one of the largest Asian immigrant groups in the United States. According to the 2020 U.S. Census data, there were approximately 4.4 million Filipino Americans residing in the country, reflecting the scale and longevity of this migration stream. However, not all members of this large community possess legal status. While many arrive through legal channels, often utilizing family reunification programs or employment-based visas, particularly in fields like healthcare, a significant number remain undocumented. In fact, as of 2022 estimates, there were roughly 350,000 undocumented Filipino immigrants living in the U.S. This figure placed them as the 5th largest group of undocumented immigrants nationally, following populations from Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. The reasons compelling Filipinos to migrate to the U.S., both legally and irregularly, are varied. Push factors within the Philippines include challenges such as limited high-paying job opportunities, inadequate medical facilities in certain areas, high crime rates in some urban centers, and periodic economic instability. These factors push many Filipinos to seek what they perceive as a better and more secure life abroad. On the flip side, the United States acts as a powerful magnet due to several pull factors. The U.S. offers more robust educational systems, advanced healthcare facilities, and, crucially for many, the promise of a higher standard of living and greater economic opportunities. Furthermore, the strong, pre-existing family and community networks established by generations of Filipino immigrants in the U.S. make the transition easier and provide vital support for newcomers. Historically, Filipinos have also faced challenges in the U.S., including prejudice similar to that experienced by other Asian immigrant groups. Discriminatory legislation in the past sometimes targeted them specifically. Despite these hurdles, Filipinos have made substantial and widely recognized contributions to American society. Their presence is notable in various sectors, particularly healthcare, where many work as nurses and medical professionals. They have also played significant roles in the American labor movement and served as veterans in the U.S. military, particularly during World War II. Today, they remain a vital part of the U.S. immigrant society, navigating the complexities of immigration policies while maintaining strong cultural ties to their homeland and enriching American culture. Number 6 brings us to China. China represents another major source of immigrants to the United States, with a migration history stretching back to the mid-19th century. As of 2023, Chinese immigrants formed a significant portion of the U.S. immigrant population, ranking third largest after Mexicans and Indians. The motivations behind this migration are diverse and have evolved over time, rooted in both historical precedents and contemporary conditions. Historically, Chinese immigration to the U.S. began in earnest during the mid-1800s, largely spurred by the California gold rush. Thousands were drawn by the prospect of finding wealth. Later, Chinese laborers played a crucial role in the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad and worked in various other industries, often facing arduous conditions. However, this early wave of immigrants encountered severe discrimination and hostility, culminating in the passage of the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. This landmark piece of legislation was the first significant U.S. law to restrict immigration based explicitly on nationality, effectively barring Chinese laborers from entering the country for decades and reflecting deep-seated anti-Chinese sentiment. In modern times, the flow of Chinese immigrants continues, driven by a different, though equally complex, set of push and pull factors. While China has experienced rapid economic growth that has lifted millions out of poverty, this development has also created significant social and economic disparities. Many individuals still seek better economic opportunities abroad. Furthermore, issues within China, such as environmental pollution, limited personal freedoms under the authoritarian government, and an intensely competitive job market push many to look for alternatives elsewhere. The United States, with its enduring reputation for freedom, innovation, and educational excellence, acts as a powerful pull factor. It is seen as a place offering greater personal liberties and opportunities for advancement. The U.S. is home to many of the world's top universities, attracting a large number of Chinese students seeking higher education. In fact, Chinese students consistently make up one of the largest groups of international students in American universities. Many of these students choose to remain in the U.S. after completing their studies, transitioning to employment-based visas or other statuses, further contributing to the Chinese diaspora. However, the journey and settlement process are not without challenges. Chinese immigrants, like many others, must navigate the complex and often lengthy U.S. immigration system. Recent geopolitical tensions between the United States and China have added another layer of complexity, impacting everything from trade relations to visa policies and potentially creating a more challenging environment for Chinese nationals in the U.S. Despite historical discrimination and contemporary challenges, Chinese immigrants continue to make significant contributions to American society across various fields, including technology, academia, business, and the arts. They bring with them a rich cultural heritage and a strong entrepreneurial spirit, forming an integral part of the American mosaic. Now, let's discuss number 5, Honduras. Honduras, a country located in Central America, has witnessed a substantial number of its citizens migrating to the United States over the years. This migration is driven by a confluence of severe and often interconnected factors. As of 2022, estimates indicated there were approximately 525,000 unauthorized immigrants from Honduras residing in the U.S., making them a significant group within the undocumented population. The primary drivers behind this migration are deeply rooted in the challenging conditions within Honduras. Poverty is widespread, affecting a large percentage of the population, particularly in rural areas. Lack of economic opportunity and low wages make it difficult for many families to sustain themselves. Compounding the economic hardship is pervasive violence. Honduras has struggled with high rates of crime, including gang violence and political instability, creating an environment of fear and insecurity for many citizens. Political corruption and instability have further plagued the country, eroding trust in institutions and exacerbating social problems. Natural disasters also play a significant role. Honduras is vulnerable to hurricanes, floods, and droughts, which frequently devastate communities, destroy livelihoods, particularly in agriculture, and displace large numbers of people, leaving them with little choice but to seek refuge elsewhere. The impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic further strained the already fragile economy and healthcare system, pushing more people towards migration as a means of survival or seeking a better future. The journey from Honduras to the United States is arduous and fraught with danger. Migrants often face perilous travel conditions, traversing multiple countries, often on foot or via precarious means of transport. They are highly vulnerable to exploitation by smugglers, coyotes, human traffickers, and criminal organizations along the route. They also face the risk of detention and deportation by authorities in transit countries or upon reaching the U.S. border. Despite these significant risks, many Hondurans feel they have no viable alternative but to undertake this journey in search of safety, stability, and economic opportunity that they cannot find in their home country. The U.S. government has acknowledged the humanitarian aspects of this migration flow and the need for legal pathways. Efforts like the Central American Minors (CAM) program aim to provide safer, legal options for eligible children to reunify with parents lawfully present in the U.S., offering an alternative to the dangerous journey north. However, these programs have specific eligibility requirements and are still evolving, and they do not address the needs of all migrants. In terms of demographics, the Honduran immigrant population in the U.S. is diverse, contributing to various sectors of the economy, often in essential but low-wage jobs in construction, agriculture, and services. They bring with them rich cultural traditions and maintain strong ties with their home communities, often sending back vital remittances. The stories of Honduran migrants underscore the complex interplay of poverty, violence, environmental factors, and political instability driving migration from the region, and highlight the urgent need for comprehensive solutions that address both the root causes in Honduras and the challenges faced by migrants seeking safety and opportunity in the U.S. At number 4, we find Guatemala. Guatemala, another Central American nation bordering Mexico to the south, is a significant source of migrants heading towards the United States. Similar to its neighbor Honduras, migration from Guatemala is driven by a complex mix of deep-rooted issues. In the year 2020, there were estimated to be around 1.3 million Guatemalans residing in the U.S., with estimates suggesting that more than half of this population might lack legal status, making them one of the largest undocumented groups in the country. The reasons compelling Guatemalans to undertake the often dangerous journey north are multifaceted and severe. Guatemala ranks as one of the poorest countries in Latin America, with high levels of income inequality. Poverty is particularly acute in rural areas and among indigenous populations. Widespread hunger and food insecurity are major concerns, affecting a significant portion of the population, especially children. Lack of stable job opportunities is another critical push factor. Many Guatemalans struggle to find work that pays a living wage, making it difficult to support their families and escape poverty. The Western Highlands region of Guatemala, predominantly inhabited by indigenous Mayan communities, is particularly affected by these challenges. This area suffers from extreme poverty, limited access to basic services like education and healthcare, land degradation, and the impacts of climate change on agriculture. Furthermore, historical and ongoing discrimination against indigenous populations exacerbates these issues, limiting their opportunities and political voice. Agricultural stress, due to factors like climate change, leading to droughts or crop failures, and volatile commodity prices, severely impacts the livelihoods of many rural families who depend on farming. Violence, including gang activity and general crime, while perhaps not always reaching the extreme levels seen in neighboring countries at certain times, remains a significant concern in many communities, contributing to a sense of insecurity and pushing people to leave. For many young Guatemalans facing these bleak prospects, migration appears to be the only viable option for achieving a better future, accessing education, finding work, and ensuring the safety of their families. Remittances sent back home by Guatemalans working in the U.S. play a crucial role in the Guatemalan economy. These financial inflows are a vital lifeline for countless families, often exceeding government revenue and export values in their economic significance. This reliance on remittances highlights the deep economic connection forged by migration, but also underscores the lack of sufficient opportunities within Guatemala itself. Efforts to manage migration from Guatemala include exploring temporary legal pathways for work abroad, which could potentially address labor market needs in destination countries while allowing migrants to remain connected to their home communities. However, the sheer scale of the migration, driven by profound and persistent issues like poverty, violence, and lack of opportunity, necessitates coordinated efforts from the U.S., Mexico, and Canada, as well as significant investment in addressing the root causes within Guatemala itself, to create sustainable solutions and offer people hope for a better future in their own country. Number 3 on our list is India. India, a country with a rich history, diverse culture, and one of the world's fastest-growing major economies, is also a significant source of migration to the United States. While the historical narrative of Indian migration differs from that of many Latin American countries, the underlying drivers share common themes of seeking opportunity. One of the primary reasons Indians migrate to the U.S. is the pursuit of economic advancement and better career prospects. Despite India's economic growth, challenges like high unemployment rates, particularly among educated youth, and significant income inequality persist. The job market can be intensely competitive, and opportunities in certain specialized fields might be limited or offer lower compensation compared to the U.S. Many Indians, especially those from wealthier states like Punjab and Gujarat, known for their entrepreneurial spirit and established diaspora networks, view the United States as a land of opportunity, where they can find better-paying jobs, advance their careers, and achieve a higher quality of life. Another major pull factor is the desire for high-quality educational opportunities. The United States is home to many of the world's leading universities and research institutions. Pursuing higher education in the U.S. is a dream for countless Indian students seeking specialized knowledge, advanced degrees, and global exposure. Indian students consistently represent one of the largest groups of international students in the U.S. Many who come for education subsequently seek employment opportunities and pathways to permanent residence after completing their studies, contributing significantly to the skilled workforce in sectors like technology, medicine, and engineering. Family reunification also plays a substantial role in Indian migration. Many Indians have relatives already settled in the U.S., often established through earlier waves of skilled migration or family sponsorship. The strong desire to join family members already living abroad is a powerful motivator, facilitated by U.S. immigration policies that prioritize family connections. Social networks within the established Indian American community provide crucial support for newcomers, easing the transition and integration process. While many Indian immigrants arrive through legal channels, such as student visas, F1, temporary work visas, H1B, or family-sponsored green cards, there is also a notable population of undocumented Indian immigrants. As of 2022, estimates suggested there were around 725,000 undocumented Indian immigrants in the U.S., making them the third largest undocumented group after Mexicans and Salvadorans. This indicates that despite legal pathways, various factors, including visa backlogs, difficulties in meeting strict eligibility criteria, or seeking asylum, lead some Indians to enter or remain in the U.S. without authorization. This often involves perilous journeys, including crossing the U.S.-Mexico border, or increasingly, the less guarded U.S.-Canada border. These journeys can be extremely costly and dangerous, sometimes requiring migrants to sell assets or take out significant loans to pay smugglers. The presence of Indian immigrants, both documented and undocumented, enriches American society. They contribute significantly to the economy, particularly in STEM fields, healthcare, and entrepreneurship, and add to the cultural diversity of the nation with their traditions, languages, and cuisine. Taking the second spot is El Salvador. El Salvador, a small but densely populated Central American country, has a long and complex history of migration to the United States, making Salvadorans one of the largest immigrant groups in the U.S., particularly within the undocumented population. The reasons driving this migration are predominantly rooted in violence, political instability, and economic hardship. Perhaps the most significant push factor for decades has been pervasive violence. El Salvador has been plagued by high levels of gang violence for many years, with powerful transnational gangs like MS-13, Mara Salvatrucha, and Barrio 18, deeply entrenched in many communities. These gangs engage in extortion, drug trafficking, recruitment of youth, and extreme violence, including homicides, creating an atmosphere of constant fear and making daily life dangerous for ordinary citizens. Many Salvadorans migrate specifically to escape this violence, seeking safety and security for themselves and their children that they cannot find at home. Political instability has also been a recurring issue. The country endured a brutal civil war from 1980 to 1992, which caused widespread devastation and displacement. While the war ended, its legacies, including social divisions, weak institutions, and lingering trauma, continued to affect the country. Periods of political unrest and concerns about governance have further contributed to migration outflows. Economic factors are intrinsically linked to violence and instability. El Salvador is one of the poorest countries in Latin America. Limited job opportunities, low wages, and poverty force many to look abroad for work. The violence itself disrupts economic activity, hinders investment, and forces businesses to close or pay extortion fees, further limiting employment prospects. Natural disasters, such as earthquakes and hurricanes, have also periodically devastated the country, exacerbating poverty and displacement. Given these challenging circumstances, many Salvadorans view the United States as a place where they can find safety from violence, achieve economic stability, and provide a better future for their families. The U.S. has historically been a popular destination due to geographical proximity relative to other destinations and established diaspora communities. Family ties and reunification are another key driver. Many Salvadorans have family members who migrated earlier, often during the Civil War era or subsequent periods of hardship, and have established lives in the U.S. The desire to rejoin these loved ones is a strong motivator, facilitated by family-based immigration pathways, although these often involve long waiting times. Remittances sent back by Salvadorans working in the U.S. are absolutely vital for the Salvadoran economy. They constitute a significant portion of the country's gross domestic product, GDP, providing essential financial support for countless families and helping to alleviate poverty to some extent. As of recent years, Salvadorans make up a substantial portion of the undocumented immigrant population in the U.S., reflecting the ongoing challenges pushing people to leave their homeland, often through irregular and dangerous routes. The ongoing connection between the two countries, shaped by decades of migration, continues to influence both Salvadoran society and the composition of immigrant communities within the United States. Finally, taking the top spot, number 1, is Mexico. Let's talk about Mexico first. It's the country located directly south of the United States, sharing a long border, and historically, it has been the single largest source of immigrants, both documented and undocumented, coming to America. This proximity and shared history have created deep and complex migratory ties that span generations. For a very long time, Mexicans constituted the majority of immigrants arriving in the U.S. However, an interesting shift has occurred. While Mexico still accounts for the largest number of immigrants overall, the proportion of new arrivals and the total share of the immigrant population originating from Mexico have actually been declining since around 2010. Back in 2010, immigrants born in Mexico made up a significant 29% of the entire U.S. immigrant population. But by 2023, this share had decreased to 23%. Similarly, focusing specifically on the unauthorized immigrant population, in 2022, only 37% were estimated to be from Mexico. While still the largest single group, this represents the smallest share recorded, indicating a diversification in the origins of undocumented immigrants arriving in the U.S. Despite this relative decline in share, the absolute numbers remain substantial. As of 2023, there were still roughly 10.9 million people living in the U.S. who were born in Mexico. What drives this massive, albeit proportionally shrinking migration flow? One major reason remains economic opportunity. Significant wage gaps exist between the two countries. Many Mexicans, particularly from rural areas or regions with fewer job prospects, are drawn to the U.S. by the possibility of earning substantially higher wages, even in low-skilled jobs, than they could back home. This allows them to support their families in Mexico through remittances. These remittances form a critical part of the Mexican economy, especially in certain regions. Family reunification is another crucial driver. Generations of migration have created extensive family networks spanning the border. Many Mexicans migrate to join spouses, parents, children, or other relatives already living and often working in the United States. U.S. immigration law provides pathways for family reunification, although visa backlogs can be lengthy. Safety concerns also play a role, though perhaps less uniformly than in some Central American nations. Certain regions in Mexico face significant challenges with violence and crime, often linked to drug cartels. While not the primary driver for all Mexican migrants, escaping localized violence or seeking a safer environment can be a contributing factor for some. The U.S. offers more job opportunities across various sectors, especially in industries like agriculture, construction, hospitality, and services, where many Mexican immigrants find employment. The demand for labor in these sectors acts as a significant pull factor. The journey itself, while shorter than for migrants from further south, still involves crossing the border, which can be dangerous and increasingly difficult due to heightened enforcement measures. Despite the declining share relative to other nationalities, Mexico remains the most significant country of origin for immigrants in the United States, reflecting the deep historical, economic, and social ties between the two neighboring nations. So, what can we conclude from this look at the changing landscape of U.S. immigration? The data clearly shows a diversification of origins. While Mexico remains the largest single source, its dominance has lessened, with significant increases from countries in Central America like Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, as well as from nations further afield like India, Nigeria, and China. The reasons for migration are complex and multifaceted, rarely attributable to a single cause. Economic factors, the search for better jobs, higher wages, and escape from poverty, remain a powerful driver across almost all groups. However, escaping violence, insecurity, and political instability is an equally, if not more, critical factor for migrants from Central America and certain other regions. The desire for better educational opportunities is a major pull for countries like India and China. Family reunification continues to be a significant pathway, especially for established diasporas like those from the Philippines, Vietnam, and the Dominican Republic. Environmental factors, including natural disasters and the impacts of climate change on agriculture, also contribute to displacement and migration, particularly from Central America and Caribbean nations. This intricate web of push and pull factors underscores that immigration is not a monolithic phenomenon, but a dynamic process shaped by diverse local conditions and global connections. Addressing migration effectively requires understanding these nuances and tackling the root causes in countries of origin: poverty, violence, lack of opportunity, and instability, while also managing borders humanely and reforming immigration systems in destination countries like the United States to reflect contemporary realities. Thank you for joining us on our channel for this exploration of U.S. immigration patterns. We hope you found this analysis insightful. If you enjoyed this video, please let us know by hitting the like button and subscribing for more content on global economics and politics. Don't forget to share your thoughts and where you are watching from in the comment section below. Your engagement is crucial for us. See you in our next video. Bye.